So last week I was able to break the build adhesion using a motor that I had coprocessed. I've been tinkering with this idea for a while, and I've been experimenting with ways to get a coprocessed motor to pull its print job off the build plate. Here's what I tried this week. After a few experiments over the past few weeks, I found that this sort of cam system works pretty effectively. We have this cam-shaped wheel that gets attached to the motor during coprocessing. If you look at this first iteration, you'll see that there are only 3 points of contact, and that's true with my second iteration as well. We have a part that's supporting the servo motor itself, and the wheel section that the servo horn slides inside. The contact points in both experiments are fairly far away from each other so that we can make the best use of the torque coming from the motor to wrench the part off of the build plate. In general, the key feature that I've had to design for in both of these experiments is minimal surface area contact with the build platform. When you print a part normally, it's supposed to stick to the build plate, or else the print would get messed up due to build adhesion issues. In these types of designs, we need to be really careful about where the part is touching the build plate and what forces will be applied to it once things start to move. Another ugly design step comes in when we have to think about how the tolerances will work with our print. Because the printer doesn't know that there's a servo motor under this print, it may accidentally hit it. This may offset the extruder head, which means that the part won't be as accurate as we want it to be. So just make sure you leave a lot of space in your CAD file to account for the coprocessed part. To add on to that, one thing I've struggled with in the past is having the print successfully over the coprocessed part. How I've tackled that challenge is to just put some blue painter's tape on the part that I've coprocessed, and that fixes most of those issues. So in the end, I print my part, I coprocess the servo motors, I stick the blue tape over them, and then at the end of my print, I plug the Arduino into my computer and let the servo motor start to run. So I've been improving my coprocessing technique with these experiments to figure out how we can best get something to pull itself off the build plate. One thing you may have noticed is that I've had my Arduino connected to my computer off of the build plate itself. So what we really need to do is incorporate a microcontroller, some motors, and some sensors into the print job during our coprocessing step, so that at the end of the print it can sense when the print is done and pull itself off the build plate instead of me having to activate the motors using the Arduino off the plate. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.